Hey everyone, it's Theresa here of Larkin Design, and welcome back to our Create With Me challenge. This is a YouTube collaboration that I'm doing with Dollie Boyd and Becky Bac, and today we're doing a mood board challenge. This is the mood board that we're working with today, and this is the layout that I'm going to be creating. Okay, and so I used the grid of this mood board as my jumping off point for my layout here. And I've already pulled a few elements and products and things that I think I want to use here. Some of the things that jumped out at me were obviously the colors in this mood board. Like, there's a really excellent selection of colors to choose from in the mood board. So pretty much any collection will work. I am working with Maggie Holmes Willow Lane and also Pinkfresh Sweet and Simple collections. And then I also used the word art that says "You Make Me Happy." I used that as a silhouette cut file. If you're interested in learning how I made that into a cut file, let me know and I'll do a tutorial on that. And some of the other elements that I pulled, of course, are the turquoise, and I also wanted to use some of the fringe crepe paper from the Maggie Holmes collection because there was a little ruffled skirt on the mood board. There's also stars on the mood board and that black and white hand-drawn scallop. And then this pattern paper from Maggie Holmes also reminded me of one of the patterns that was in the mood board. So I'm gonna jump right in here, and I have a photo here of Emberlyn that I'm working with today. This is a back to school photo shoot that I did a couple of weeks ago. And at first, I printed the photo vertically 3.5 by 5 and cropped it to have a white border. But as I went through creating this layout and sort of conceptualizing the layout, I sort of realized that I wanted it to be square instead, and that it didn't need the border, because I'm putting the whole layout itself on a white background. So you'll see in a few minutes, I'll go back and trim that down. I have the cut apart sheets from Pinkfresh Studio, and I want to use some of these as well to express a couple of sentiments on the layout and use them as journaling spots. So I'm going to trim this one out real quick. This is a yellow one that I'm going to use to incorporate the yellow into the layout. And then I will also trim out this sort of pinky peachy one. Is that a color? Pinky peach? But it has lines on it, and so this will be the basis for my journaling card. So I mentioned already that I wanted to do a grid style layout for this challenge, and some of the elements in the grid are going to be 3 by 3 and have a specific boundary, and others of them are just going to fill the space of the 3 by 3. And so you can see here I'm trimming down the photo so that it's 3 by 3. And then notice how I am making those cut apart pieces. They are going to fill the space and overlap the space a little bit. And so I'm gonna trim up this pattern paper here as well, and that will be one of the spaces. And so of course, if you use 3 by 3 grids on a 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock, then you'll have white space in between each of them, and you'll have 9 squares here. So that's sort of what my target is right now. I'm not sure exactly what's going in each of the squares, but I figure it will come to me as I get into the layout here. And there you can see I've added a third cut apart piece to that journaling spot there. I'm debating on what to do with one of the other grids here and just going through some more of these pattern papers. And here is a nice yellow pattern from Maggie Holmes that has a little more verbiage, and I like it for the yellow here, and so I'm trying to balance the use of color here. So trying to use all, I think it's 12 or 14 colors in that mood board. Instead of trying to use all of those 14 colors, I'm pulling just a couple that are my favorites that I work with all the time and repeating those around the layout. And so now I feel like I've got enough elements at least started that I can start gluing some things down. But before I start gluing, I wanted to do some stamping for the background. And that's really to tie in the white with the rest of the layout a little bit. And I'm also going to use this stamp set to create a visual direction on the layout. And so you'll see how I'm going to do this. I have the teal camera. That camera is a chipboard piece from an older Maggie Holmes collection. I think it's from Carousel, but I'm not sure about that. But I'm going to position the stamps around this camera. And so I'm using the rose stamp from Maggie Holmes here, and it's going to just frame some of the surrounding squares a little bit, and that camera will actually overlap the stamped elements a bit. And then I'm going to use the turquoise color and the leaf stamps to add a little bit more to those roses. And I'm also going to stamp those leaves on some of the other squares as well. And so notice how I'm not really thinking too hard about where I'm putting these. I just want to have the leaves repeated in a couple of other places so that that turquoise leaf element is repeated, right? The idea of using repetition to tie your layout together. And you can see now how those stamps lead your eye from the lower left-hand corner diagonally into the upper right-hand corner of the layout. And that's just a means of using some type of element to lead your eye across the page. And so working through some more of the gluing down here. I have the photo glued down now, and I'm working with these cut apart elements again. So they are styled like tickets, and you can punch the edges. I did that on one of them, but not on the others. And then at the end of the layout, I'll add my journaling to that. I'm just gonna continue gluing here for a little while longer. So the globe that you saw there, that is probably an older crepe paper collection. If you're new to my channel or you don't follow me, you have to know that the majority of my chipboard pieces I have taken out of the 12 by 12 chipboard sheet, and I keep them stored all together in some trays. Just because that makes it easier for me to work with them. And it's also nice when you're doing a layout like this, you can just kind of go through your chipboard and just see what you have. It helps me use it more. And so I also have these are the foam and chipboard sticker sheet or sticker set from Maggie Holmes, and the puffy stars are from Pinkfresh. And so there were a couple more elements that I wanted to pull in from the mood board itself. And so the mood board had stars, so of course I had to use my puffy star stickers, and you'll see how I incorporate those in a bit as well. And then here I am adhering this silhouette word art. And so in the mood board, this was sort of a rainbow effect, and I pulled that whole image into Photoshop and turned it to black and white, and then cropped that down so that it was just the "You Make Me Happy," and then I imported that into Silhouette and traced it and used it as a cut file. And I really liked how that turned out. You can probably adjust the sizing a little bit. I wouldn't do it very much because it becomes pixelated. It was kind of small, but it fit perfectly for the size that I needed here on this layout, and it makes a great title. So remember that if you need a good title, that you can sometimes use Pinterest images to create your own silhouette cutouts. I'm going to layer just a simple foam teacup onto this yellow patterned paper, and then I'm also adding a couple of the glitter stars to the cut file. I have not glued down that teal camera yet. I'm gonna work here with this chipboard frame, and so I decided to add a puffy sticker from Pinkfresh to the center of that, and it just has a little word sentiment there. I did go and add some little measurements. I did just measure out that grid and just added some little light pencil marks to help me know where the boundaries are for each of these little squares. Just in case you're wondering, I cropped that out of the video just because it was kind of boring. So, but I did have a little, some little marks there to help me position all of this. I'm going to add my journaling, and so Emberlyn went into 8th grade this year, and just wrote a little love letter to her about how proud I am of her and how she's doing really awesome things right now. And you can see here now that I'm placing some of these star puffy stickers. Man, I love these things. And I'm just using them sort of to enhance the background a little bit more, and just for fun. They're just fun and happy little pops of color. I also added Emberlyn's age, 13. There's a little Felicity Jane chipboard circle that came in the December Daily kit last year. Anytime I need numbers, I go and pull out my December Daily stash and look for numbers. And so that's just on the corner of her photo there, along with another little glitter heart. And then I have all these little stars. They're little wooden stars, and I'm just repeating that star element again. And this is just another way to add texture, to add dimension, and sprinkle a few more stars here on the layout. I can't really say what my design decisions were about these little wooden stars. They were just fun, and wherever I felt like something was needed, I just added them just in a few little places. And let's see, I'm just cleaning up the glue here a little bit and erased some of the pencil marks. and then the layout is done. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this process and that you will join us in the Facebook group. I will link below. I will also link to the other ladies down below. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.